Today, we're in the rolling hills of southwest Pennsylvania. We're here with Bruce Smith, a crop consultant of 35 years, and Mike Andrews, the farmer of this land. Bruce and Mike have been working together for the better part of 20 years to grow quality wheat, corn, and soybeans across 1,200 acres of reduced till ground.
This is called shepherd's purse. This is chickweed, and this is called dead nettle. This would be fleabane, daisy fleabane. Yeah, that's just a mustard, and this is called yellow rocket.
Join us as we get into the weeds of what a crop consultant looks for in the field and how they work with their growers to achieve their goals.
And I always knew that I'd enjoy working with growers. No, they're just salt of the earth, you know, and it's what they do to make a living. It's their life, you know, and they're good stewards of the ground to begin with. They have to be, because it's what they depend on. They're just honest with you and hardworking. I just want to help the grower. With that comes soil sampling services, crop scouting services, nutrient management planning, crop planning, consulting, checking crops, checking fields, seeing what the crops need. Not getting rich doing it, don't want to, don't need to, don't care. I just want to help the grower solve those problems and help him grow the best crop that he can.
We talk at least once a week, probably maybe more even.
I think more in season, as crops are coming up and growing and that sort of thing.
Especially probably in the spring, maybe several times a week, and then later in the season where we're kind of at the point where there's not a whole lot we can change or alter at that point. It maybe slows down a little bit. Like the first day I went to plant or something, I call Bruce and I'm telling him what I see, and we look at the weather and just kind of bounce it off of him too and see what his idea is. I'll probably do what I want at the end of the day, but at least
Well, I think a lot of it too is confirmation, validation. As far as, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing, that sort of thing. What are your thoughts? Do you have any? What are the pros and cons, things like that?
We have been working together for over 20 years now, I think, at this point, you know what I mean? Soil testing and then the management of those tests too. Well, I'd get these samples and then we just had a big stack of papers on the desk, and Bruce takes time, puts them into a spreadsheet and organizes them, figure out which farms need what, and it's just, we have a lot more organized way of dealing with everything now too. It's definitely helped me. We've expanded over the last 5 years and just help with my workload too, and helps me know what needs done when. And
I can take them, Mike. Take them. Hey, buddy.
Well, everything we do, we want to have a successful business here that ideally we can leave to our kids, or transition to our kids at some point. That's basically our whole goal. It just takes lots of hard work and lots of discipline, and yeah, you got to watch your numbers. That's all it is. I mean, margins are thin, and yeah, if you're spending money and not getting a return on it, it's not gonna work for you.
Things aren't always textbook, and so you gotta be flexible and adaptable to different things that might happen out there that may not be something you were taught. Every grower's different for the most part in how they do things, how they see things, and again, I think it's just about those relationships and just to be open to other people's ideas, thoughts, and being able to adapt. The more you can build that soil health, build that biology that's in the soil, the better it's going to be for the crop, for the soil. Yeah, right now you're kind of staging the crop, where it's at growth stage-wise. I mean, I can take the plant here and count the nodes on the stem. There's a node, a second node, right? There's the node, second node here. And then you can feel the head is right here, okay? This is called the flag leaf. That's your very last leaf on the plant. And here's your head right below that flag leaf. And it won't be long before that head will be coming out. So right now, with two nodes on the plant, that's the head right there. That's the wheat head right there. So that's not far from coming out, all right? And once the wheat head comes out, that's growth stage 10. Once you know the growth stage, then you know when to go back in, because Mike will go back in here with a fungicide. And the fungicides normally that are used here would be something that's going to protect the grain head from blight. So that's a major disease here in the area. It can cause a lot of problems, yield reduction-wise, quality-wise. And so he'll go back in here when the wheat's out in head. And that's at the right time, and I'll be checking these fields for him, and I'll let Mike know, okay, it's go time. It's time for you to get in here and apply your fungicide. So that's what he'll do. He'll protect it from disease and problems later on. And so other than just kind of checking for growth stage, disease, there's no weeds sticking up anywhere, you know, it's a very clean field. No-till is done a lot around here, not a lot of tillage. You didn't have a whole lot of choice unless you want to risk losing topsoil. So a lot of crops are no-tilled in on a contour and with the topography. Sometimes when you see certain weeds, it can be an indication of or a fertility issue. We'll have a weed, we call it buffalo grass or poverty grass. We call it poverty grass just because it's poor or low in nutrients. We know that's the case when we see that kind of weed. Having weeds is not necessarily a bad thing. You don't have to have a picture-perfect piece of ground either. You know, you can live with a certain amount of weeds. But just depending on what type of weed it is and the volume, how many weeds, will determine whether or not I say, hey, Mike, you need to come back in here and spray this post-emergence, or I'll just say, hey, you know, you can live with the amount of weeds that I see here. So you don't need to be rushing back out there every time to spray every little weed you see, because that's not good for the environment. That's expensive, adds to his cost. That's something he doesn't want to do. That's where it pays to know what kind of weeds you're looking at, what kind of weeds you're seeing, and then how to control that weed too. Here we have a cornfield. This was corn last year, and Mike's planted this side of the farm to corn again this year. Dig up the seed, it sprouted, put a sprout out, which will come up through the ground. It's got a root on it. Normally we recommend planting the corn about 2 inches deep. And so if you go to the top of the seed, you can kind of see where that's at. You know, that should be roughly about 2 inches. Dig up the seed, and you can see there's the root, and there's the shoot. And then, I mean, it looks good, looks healthy, no issues yet. It's still pretty early, but no issues. This should be able to come up fairly soon. I'd say maybe towards the end of the week, you might see this starting to poke through. You know, a lot depends on temperatures. You know, the cooler it is, the slower it's going to be to emerge, that sort of thing. I'm looking for emergence issues, you know, how the plant's coming up, if there's any. Sometimes you'll have some insects feeding on the seed, some grubs, some maggots, your soil type insects that you're looking for, slugs, some of those kind of insects that feed just above the surface like that on the plant that's coming up. So, but for the most part, the crop's going to come up pretty decent. You know, the population is low. You know, why is that? That's why you dig. You know, you dig and you see, you know, what the seed's doing down there and what issues might be affecting the emergence, that sort of thing. So, let me tell you that, I mean, it's their livelihood, right? They depend on the soil and they're going to take care of it. You know, in the past, you know, I'd have all these results analysis that I'd do, tissue analysis, soil tests, scatter reports, things like that. To a certain degree, I guess I can take those results and kind of somewhat formulate a plan. I would spend way too much time trying to figure that out, trying to put stuff together. And I think what's nice about Cultra is that it's a platform that allows you to take all that information, combine it, sort it, compare it to the progress a certain field is making over the years, you know, and I like that a lot because that's something that's kind of been missing in a lot of my recommendations and a lot of my work with the growers. You know, being able to say, hey, looks like we're going in the right direction here, or we're not. You know, so we need to make some changes and adjustments and that sort of thing. So it frees up my time as well. Take all that information you've gathered, put it in a user-friendly form for me as the consultant, and definitely for the grower, that they can see the progress that we're making together as a team.